As an Airbnb host, one of the most important things you could possibly do is become a SuperHost. Not only will it get your property more exposure, but it's going to put more money in your pocket. Here's how you become a SuperHost.
If you're new here, my name is Ralph DiBugnara. And over the last 20 years, I've been buying real estate and lending money on real estate for all types of properties. But I'm not here to sell you on me. I'm here to tell you how I did it. Over the last few years, I've amassed a short-term or Airbnb portfolio worth over $20 million. With that, it's allowed me to retire younger, replace my income from other ventures with all short-term rental income, and travel all over and even own properties in other countries.
So first of all, why did Airbnb even create a platform where they needed SuperHosts? It was in response to them having a lack of consistent hosting or good experiences from host or property owners or property renters or whatever it was, but they wanted to set a standard they could hold hosts responsible and accountable to, so the guests would have a better experience. With Airbnb, if you're going to host, what you have to understand is you're a hotel concierge. And being a hotel concierge, what Airbnb is most concerned about is the guest experience, not you as a host. I would definitely say you see this in all the Airbnb forums and all the stuff that goes around about short-term rentals. Airbnb is definitely a platform that caters to hosts, but it's much more concerned with the guest experience. So being a SuperHost is something that plays really, really well on their platform, and it's something that's necessary if you're going to build a business long-term on Airbnb for short-term rentals. Let's talk about the requirements to being an Airbnb host. First, you have to host at least 10 stays in the past year. So in the past year, you have to have at least 10 stays. Secondly, you need to respond to 90% of new guest messages within 24 hours. Now, this is super important when it comes to for hosting, and for our properties, it's become something that's required, right? Not only do you have to respond, you have to respond quickly. They say 24 hours that you have to, but the truth of the matter is they track your response times. Your response times on Airbnb should be less than an hour. That's what I would recommend. That's what gets you the best reviews, the best ratings. 2 hours, 3 hours isn't the end of the world, but I would advise to respond in less than an hour to guest messages. You also can set something up, this is going to help with this process, where you have automated messages on Airbnb. So we have automated messages on Airbnb when you book the property, the day you're checking in with check-in instructions. 24 hours after you check in, another automated message goes out to say, hey, how's your stay? And before they're checking out the day of, check out instructions, as well as a message asking them to review the property and give us a review and give us any feedback. So we have some automated messages that help with this response time, but guests are going to message you throughout the process, and you want to have a process where you're going to respond in less than an hour or two every single time. Next, this is important. Have a 4.8 or better overall rating out of 5. So out of a 1 to 5 rating, they want you to have a 4.8 overall rating or better. How do you get good reviews? Well, first, the house is very important, obviously. It has to be a good visitor or, guest experience in your house, right? That's number one. But secondly, how you respond and how fast you respond definitely plays into that. So if I'm responding fast, I'm being empathetic, I'm being sympathetic to any kind of concerns or problems they have, you're going to get a better review no matter what. Most of the reviews on our properties, and you can check that out on lucina.com, Luceina.com. That's the website with all my Airbnb current properties on there. Most of the reviews on our properties are going to look at what the host did. The host was very responsive. The host had a clean house. The host answered my issues. Even we've had problems. The heat wasn't working. The pool heater wasn't working. Something was left in the house. There was bugs. There was an animal outside. Whatever it was, as long as we responded quickly and responded empathetically with some kind of solution to the issue or future solutions to the issue, for the most part, you'll get good reviews. And the feedback they give that could be negative or constructive criticism, right? The constructive criticism will come in the private messages and not on your public reviews. Airbnb, when they ask the guests when they're checking out, they'll give them 2 different messages. Now here comes something that's a little bit tricky, right? But you have to abide by it. Have a cancellation rate of less than 1%. What does that mean? That means if somebody books your property, you literally can't go in and cancel it. If you accept a booking, at that point, you're held to that standard and you can't cancel the booking. What you need to do in the situations, if you have somebody that booked that wasn't supposed to book, or you're concerned about the reviews, is contact Airbnb and see if you can get them to cancel the booking without you having to do it yourself. If you cancel bookings because the property's not ready, because you didn't have it blocked off when it should have been blocked off, if you just don't like the person's profile or they have no profile, if you cancel bookings, it will hurt your SuperHost status. From my experience, you get 3 cancellations before they start knocking you from being a SuperHost. So they're saying here, have a cancellation rate of less than 1%. The truth is, you're just not going to be able to cancel, right? So you're either going to have to get the guests to cancel themselves, and I've been able to do that in some situations. We called them up and say, hey, the house isn't ready. It's probably better if you cancel. We're not sure if it's going to be ready in time, and get them to cancel. If you're canceling yourself, you're going to affect your SuperHost status. So let's review. At least 10 stays per year. Respond to 90% of guest messages within 24 hours. Have a 4.8 out of 5 review or better from your guests. 4.8 stars out of 5 review or better for your guests. And you can only have less than 1% of a cancellation rate. So you can only cancel people less than 1% of the time. That are the requirements for Airbnb. How do you get good reviews, right? So let's talk about that. Offering a comfortable, clean, and easy to use property is number one. Clear instructions, a comfortable property that's clean, that meets the expectations of the pictures and your description. I put everything in the description. If there's wild animals in the area, I mention it. I try to put everything in either the check-in instructions or the description of the property to just be clear. So I have all those messages. By the way, when you're messaging with the guest, it's best to stay in the Airbnb platform. And Airbnb wants you to stay in the platform because then any kind of conversation that was had that may have been misconstrued, or they may have said something or said you said something, Airbnb can review all the messages. So 2, keep your cancellation rate low. We talked about that. Number 3, take care with your communications, meaning, I can't stress this enough. You have to be empathetic in your responses to your customers. If they have concerns about the property, if they have complaints about the property, first you have to have people, either yourself or somebody within reach, that can address the problem immediately, or at least offer. When I have problems with my property, when everything's not working, I'm either going to address it immediately or I'm going to say, hey, I can get somebody over there within a few hours to address the issue. A lot of times they're going to say, no, it's not that big of a deal. Can be addressed after we leave. They don't want to have people within the house while they're there. But you have to give them the option at least. So that's really, really important, right? Make guests feel like they're getting a good deal. Like when they get to the house, we do little things: a bottle of wine, a welcome card, nice towels, robes, nice linens, nice bed sheets. You want them to feel like they're getting a good deal once they get there. So let's talk about this. Who isn't qualifying for Airbnb SuperHost status, right? Out of 4.9 million hosts, 3.5 million of them are not SuperHosts. So out of 4.9 million hosts, only 1.4 million people are SuperHosts. When you are a SuperHost, I can tell you this from experience, your property shows up on the front page more. Your property gets more exposure. You are going to get people to your page, and it's almost like built-in marketing. Being a SuperHost on Airbnb is like built-in marketing. So what does it mean for your dollars, right? Let's talk about what it actually means for dollars. So the truth of the matter is it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get more per night. The average price for SuperHost, and I'm going to tell you why this number is skewed. The average daily price for SuperHost is about $263, where the average price for non-SuperHost is about $305. That number is skewed because SuperHosts are going to book a lot more, right? Their occupancy rate is 58% compared to 49% for people who are non-SuperHost. So overall average revenue for SuperHost is $44,400. Overall average revenue for non-SuperHost is $41,000, because as a SuperHost, you get more exposure and you get more bookings. Means your average daily rate may be lower, but you're going to get more total revenue. So there is a higher total revenue for a SuperHost than a non-SuperHost. For people who are individual operators and are not property managers, right? So they're just novices at this. As a SuperHost, they're averaging around $45,000. As a property management company, they're averaging a little bit more than that at $51,000. Does that mean you need a property manager? I would look at that number. Most property managers are going to take between 15 and 20% of your top line revenue. So the truth of the matter is even as a non-SuperHost, even as a non-property manager company and a SuperHost, if you're a SuperHost and you're not a property manager, you're still making more money overall than if you're going to a property manager because of the percentage they're taking out of your top line. But some of us may not have time for that, right? So here are the key takeaways, right? Let's go through the key takeaways. You have to put in the necessary time and action into your property to become a SuperHost. Low cancellation rates, good customer experiences, fast response times. That's what's going to get you to SuperHost the fastest. That's what's important about it. And I can promise you from experience, it'll give you more revenue on the property. I hope you enjoyed this talk. If you want to hear more on short-term rentals and real estate investing, check out my page at Ralph DiBugnara and hit us in the comments and the messages to tell us what you want to see next. I'm Ralph DiBugnara. You can check out my website at ralphdbugnara.com. You can check out my Instagram at @dbug, and you can check out my Airbnb or short-term rental real estate course to learn how to do this yourself at thenextrealestategoldrush.com. Thanks again.